Good evening. I call the Monday, May 12, 2025, regular business meeting of the Lee County Board of Education to order. Mr. Jamie McDonald will give tonight's invocation.
Let's pray. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day, Lord, that you've given us. Lord, I thank you for all the people present here and in the school system and all the students and teachers and all, Lord, just thank you so much for them. Lord, I ask you to be with us as we conduct the business tonight, Lord, and give recognition to these students, Lord. Just thank you for all that you give us, Lord. Most of all, your Son, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for our sins. For us, in his name I pray. Amen.
You have this evening's agenda before you, and if there are no modifications, the board can adopt by consent. Vice Chairperson, Mrs. Donna Ford, will review public participation protocol and guidelines. Just as a reminder, this meeting is a meeting held by the board. Our guidelines are published for our future public participation. And at this time, Dr. Truitt will welcome our guest and introduce Mr. Jerry Conley from the Georgia Department of Audits and recognize student achievements.
Good evening. Welcome to the May Board of Education. Last week we celebrated Teacher Appreciation Week. I don't think a week is nearly enough to celebrate our teachers. We have the best teachers in Georgia right here in Lee County. It was great to be able to celebrate them and all that they do for our children and for our community. It seems like this school has flown by and we missed an opportunity, so I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce, if he could please stand, our new Food Services Director, Mr. Tanner Watkins. Mr. Watkins, if you could stand. Thank you. I'm sorry about missing you last time. Graduation is right around the corner and we are drawing to a close another incredibly successful year. I hope that everyone has an incredible summer. Take some time to rest and relax. In just a few minutes, we are going to have the opportunity to celebrate many things, but one of which being our financial effectiveness. At this time, I would like to move into our celebrations and recognitions. If we could have Mr. Conley come forward from the Georgia Department of Audits to present our financial findings.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the board for allowing me to be a part of your board meeting tonight to give y'all this certificate of excellence. About 10 years ago, the department came up with an award program to honor those boards that have financial reporting of excellence, and in order to get this certificate, you have to have your financial statements prepared by the November deadline, have no findings, and have a clean opinion. And the board this year for the 2024 fiscal year, June 30th, 2024, accomplished that. I've been with the department for 25 years and been a part of the audit in some form for over 18 years. And it's always been a very good audit. And ever since we've been given this award, Lee County has been one that has gotten it every time. There's only 25 of them this year that has gotten this award. So it's a very, very good thing to have. And so I'd like to present this to y'all.
The recognitions.
Welcome to May. Hey, there's more than a few people saying woo. We have a few different student recognitions, and as usual, we have students that are excelling in so many different areas. It is really a joy to behold. The first one that we'd like to do this evening is the Young Georgia Authors Writing Competition. The purpose of the Young Georgia Authors Writing Competition is to encourage students to develop enthusiasm for and expertise in their writing, to provide a context to celebrate their writing successes, and to recognize student achievement in arts and academics. Students are recognized for outstanding achievement in the area of writing through their expression of ideas, language use, and unique perspective and voice. This prestigious competition has been engaging Georgia students for more than 2 decades and is open to any student currently enrolled in Georgia Public Schools, grades K through 12. The competition is sponsored by the Georgia Language Arts Supervisors and the Georgia Recent Network with support from the Georgia Department of Education. We have 2 students who won awards. The first one we'd like to recognize, and I'll call your name, come on up. Robert or Bo Bruner. He won at the state level. He was the state top. His writing was top o'clock. And then for Naomi Underwood, she won at the region level. She was the Reese Group's top 9th grade student, and she won for her writing Nature I Remain. Come on up. And Mr. Rocky Ledford is the person at the district office kind of over the Georgia Young Georgia Authors Writing Competition, so we're going to ask him to come up. And now we'll get a picture with everybody.
2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Now we'll move over to FFA. Students competed and represented Lee County well at the 96th Georgia FFA Convention. Our FFA advisors work with students year-round to aid in their successes. Following students finished first in the state of Georgia in the specified competition area. So when I call your name, come on up. So for middle school record book, home and community development, Area 5 state winner, Zaylee Kirkpatrick. And while we find yours, yeah, make this backwards. Uh-oh. Please hold while we find your... This will be the last one. Hey, told you it was the last one. Come on.
Congratulations, sweetheart.
For middle school record book, power structures and technical systems, we have Michael Corbett, Area 5 state winner. Also for the Area 5 winner in natural resources, SAE record book, Gracie Addison. First place high individual, nursery landscape state CDE, McKenna Snelson. Now for our state, Now for our state dairy judging team champions, we have, and these are 4 young ladies, Olivia Vanderwalt, Morgan Webb, Emma Barkley, and Nina Bell. Olivia? Morgan. Emma. That was quick. And then for state junior wildlife management team champions, we have Lucas O'Neill, Ethan Davis, Eli Ledford, and Wyatt Lane. And our FFA sponsors will come on up. We'll take a group picture.
Can I get some of my crew to come up behind. I have the kiddos. There is. There we go. My tall gentleman, come right in the middle. There we go. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Nice work. There we go.
Okay, thank you guys so much. We got it. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hold tight for your parents. Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations. And now finally, switching over to the Governor's Honors Program. Once again, this prestigious program, students across the state completed applications for the Governor's Honors Program in the fall of '24, and a select few were chosen as district representatives. These representatives then submitted an application for the state competition. Lee County High School student Cy Taltham was selected as a finalist to participate in the highly competitive and prestigious Governor's Honors Program is a 4-week summer residential program at Georgia Southern University for the top students in 12 major categories of study. Cy will be participating in the field of agricultural research, biotechnology, and science. Yes.
We go 1, 2. Awesome. Thank you.
Congratulations, Cy. You're more than welcome to stay for the rest of the board meeting, but if you feel like you have to go. We have some exciting things like budget, personnel.
Really nice report on this. Thanks for supporting my girl.
And my report on discipline. That might get a couple of them to turn around. I think my wife. Wow. My wife left as well.
She told me to tell you good riddance.
Probably.
We'll continue. And the first item of business, the board needs to approve the minutes for the April 14th, 2025 regular business meeting and the April 29th, 2025 called meeting. May I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? May I have a second? Thank you. Are there any questions or corrections from the board? We have none. I have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And the next item of business, the board needs to approve the month-end, March 2025 financial report. Dr. Truitt, are there any comments regarding the financial report?
Madam Chair and members of the board, I make the recommendation the financial report as submitted be accepted for the month of March 2025.
May I have a motion to approve the March 2025 financial report as presented? May I have a second? Second. Are there any questions from the board? I have a motion and a second to approve the month-end March 2025 financial report is presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. This is the time we set aside for members of the public who wish to address the board with any issues of concern. There were no requests to speak at this evening's meeting. At this time, it is necessary for the board to adjourn into executive session to consider personnel matters. The board will reconvene at the conclusion of the executive session to consider additional business items. May I have a motion to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action or dismissal, or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview applicants for the position of superintendent? May I have a second? Are there any questions from the board? It is motioned and seconded to adjourn into executive session. All in favor, please say aye.
No, all my teachers can't wait to hear this speech.
May I have a motion to reopen? Second. Are there any questions or comments from the board? It is motioned and seconded to reopen the regular business meeting. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. The regular business meeting is called back to order. At this time, we will have our regular monthly informational reports. Dr. Truitt?
Absolutely, thank you so much. Madam Chair, members of the board, just as a note of interest, our SPLOST collections for the month of March totaled $470,551.98. That's slightly up from our normal month's collection, so we hope that that's a continued upward tick. Under maintenance, corrective orders, 221 were completed, 221 were issued, 199 completed at a 90% completion rate, and preventative maintenance work orders, 205 issued with 205 completed at 100% completion rate. On tonight's consent agenda, you will find a request for 2 new buses. This purchase will be offset utilizing state funding for the replacement of buses. We're requesting the purchase of 2 international buses. 3 quotes were required for this purchase, and the lowest was through International at $142,500 per bus, for a total cost of $285,000. We will be applying $176,220 in state funds for a local investment of $108,800 in local funds. At this time, I would like to invite Mrs. Kelly Duke, Senior Director of Leadership and Learning, K-612, to join us to present an update on the new Georgia English Language Arts Standards and the Lee County rollout. Mrs. Duke?
Good evening, board members, Dr. Truitt. I would like to provide you with a brief update on our progress with the rollout of the new English standards. First, I want to point out a few ways that as you are already aware, a particular emphasis is being placed on phonics and phonemic awareness. This will require our teachers to incorporate more coordinated and explicit phonics instruction across all K-5 grade levels. Another expectation of the new standards is for all students to interpret and construct text across various modes beyond traditional print, such as video, audio, and digital and interactive platforms. The new standards also place a more concentrated emphasis on craft techniques, such as the use of dialogue and tone or figurative language, to help students learn the foundations of effective writing and text analysis. Teaching students how to read like writers and how to write with intention will be a priority. Providing students with exposure to different authors, genres, and cultures will be an intentional part of instructional planning. Based on state guidance, teachers will be asked to focus on teaching students appropriate skills and strategies to make them better readers, rather than simply emphasizing the content of what they are reading alone. For example, in the past, students have been asked to read novels with the primary focus being placed on understanding the plot or the character development in the novel itself. Moving forward, students will be asked to analyze two texts, which may be excerpts from novels, to compare how different authors use language deliberately, and to teach students how to apply those techniques in their own writing. This is the kind of deep learning that will be incorporated in our instruction to promote true student growth. In preparation for teaching the new standards, our teachers have been provided with ongoing professional learning throughout this school year. We started with support for our primary and elementary teachers this past summer by beginning letters training to enhance student literacy skills in the early grades. Professional learning on the components of the new standards and collaborative sessions for teacher input have been held throughout the school year also. Teacher-created documents for instructional planning will be completed for all English courses at all grade levels prior to our teachers leaving for the summer months. These will be used as guides for what our teachers teach and when they teach it throughout the year next year. Our rollout plan followed the same model that we previously used with our math teachers, so we have high expectations that we will see similar student achievement in English. Due to the proactive approach and commitment of our school board to provide our teachers with designated planning time during the school day and aligned instructional resources, we are significantly ahead of most other school systems across the state in our planning and preparation. I would like to thank not only our board members, but also our amazing teachers and school leaders who have worked extra hard this year to ensure that all of our English teachers and students are set up for success for next school year. Thank you, Dr. Truitt. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, that's all we have prepared, and stand ready for questions.
Do we have the technology that we need for this rollout? Everything that we need?
We did.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Street. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Kevin Dowling, Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Family and Student Services, to join us to share information for our year-end reporting on student discipline.
Good evening, everyone. One more time. Go ahead and flip that through, Jen. So this is kind of a review of discipline a little bit. We did a couple of different things here. The first thing that I just kind of want to touch on a little bit is events that cause the loss of instructional time. We touched on this some last year and a little bit at the beginning of this year. Just a little, this is kind of a reflection of how this year went versus last year as far as ISS, OSS, in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, the consequences, the number of office disciplinary referrals, and the total number of days. So you see a little bit of an increase, not much. I mean, really, it's not really statistically significant, but it's a little bit of an increase in ISS consequences, but a reduction in the amount of days of ISS total. And then OSS has a larger reduction, but a little bit of an increase in the total number of days. And then our tribunal hearings or waivers, we actually had an increase, a 14% increase in 24-25 over 23-24. You can look at some of our, remember, at this time last year, we were talking about changing the code of conduct, and we did so. And we instituted some chronic disciplinary meetings. We instituted a little bit more consequences, a little bit higher consequences for some disciplinary measures, and we also dealt with some of that chronic discipline. One of the things that we said and we continue to say is we want classrooms where teachers can teach and where students can learn. And if that means sometimes that we have a little bit of trouble as far as our discipline goes and a little bit of an increase in some areas, then such is the case. So tribunal hearings or waivers, the vast majority of those either came from a chronic discipline situation, or of course THC, vapes, things of that nature as well. We've had a few of those as well. So, but that is a little bit of a quick look at our increases and decreases from last year to this year as far as our events that may cause a loss of instructional time. So go ahead. Before I get into the next slide, I kind of want to, because these things are going to come up, so I just kind of want to touch on a little bit what these things mean. When you see student incivility 1, which you will see, that means just a general disrespect or failure to follow directions. Just think of it, kid kind of has a smart response to something, or maybe you've asked a kid to be quiet a few times and they have not done so. They just continue to, not follow directions. Student incivility 2 is a little bit ramped up. That's a blatant insubordination. That kid is being a lot more disrespectful, maybe even yelling at a staff member, maybe even using profanity toward the staff member. So a little bit of a difference between student incivility 1 and student incivility 2. You'll see these on the next slide, which is why I'm kind of touching on them right now. And then attendance related is basically anything involving attendance, which could be skipping class, skipping school, tardies, leaving campus or class without permission, things of that nature. So you'll see that in just a minute. I'm going to explain a little bit on this next table. Okay, so I did a Big 5 report, and when I started looking at the data, I determined that I'm going to keep LCHS separate. And the reason I did that was because, well, kids start driving in high school, and when they get past their freshman year, they get keys to the car. And when they get keys to the car, guess what happens? They start making bad choices sometimes. They start skipping school. They start coming to school late. They start stopping off at Hardee's or McDonald's or whatever coffee shop is in the area, and they show up late the first period. So when you look at the Big 5, the raw data, there was so many more attendance-related issues at LCHS than any other place. I kind of felt like LCHS needed to be its own. Now you'll see after that, it kind of falls in line with the other levels. But attendance-related is probably by far the biggest issue with LCHS, simply because, again, keys to the car equals making bad choices sometimes. So then after that, I did the rest of grades 6 through 12, which included, of course, Middle East, Middle West, TLC, and 9th grade, and then, of course, pre-K through 5. So if you look at those, you see the attendance-related LCHS, and then student incivility 1. You'll look at the other 2, and student incivility 1 is the most prominent in both of those. And again, that student incivility 1 is that, not going to call it minor, but the little bit of a disrespect, a refusal to follow directions. Kid got a little smart in class, or you've asked him to do this umpteen times and he's still doing that instead of this. LCHS, right after the attendance related, they had student incivility 1 as well. And then after that, LCHS fell into the electronic smoking device. And you remember we have a few different levels of this now. We have possession, we have use, we have distribution. And so with the LCHS had the possession part, the electronic smoking device. Again, what these are basically vapes, basically nicotine vapes, possession of nicotine vapes. If you look at the rest of 612, fighting with no injuries, one of the third most with the rest of 612, as well as with pre-K through 5. Now, there is a little bit of fighting going on. Yes, it's a little bit more than it was last year at those levels. But you'll notice that it says no injuries. We have 3 levels of fighting. We have fighting level 1, fighting with no injuries. Fighting level 2, fighting with mild or moderate injuries. Fighting level 3 is either getting in a fight 3 different times during the school year or fighting with severe injuries. And in this case, we have the fighting level 1, which means that if something broke out, it was broken up before anybody got hurt too bad. So that tells me that we've got folks that are breaking things up. If it gets to that point, folks are breaking things up before there's an injury that occurs. So at LCHS, you see also student incivility 2. That's the blatant insubordination, the being a little bit more smarmy or a little bit more aggressive. Again, high school students. And then the rest of 612, you see attendance related, and then they get to the electronic smoking device possession. And then in pre-K through 5, they went to disorderly conduct and repeated offenses. Now, repeated offenses in pre-K through 5, and again, principals pre-K through 5, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically when a child is kind of exhibiting the same type of inappropriate behaviors, it may not be the world's worst, but they keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, so you get to a point where you're like, well, we're just repeating the same thing. Now, again, correct me if I'm wrong with that, but I think that's kind of the idea behind that. So, and then you look at LCHS at the bottom, and you'll see plagiarism / cheating, and we kind of look at that, and again, Karen, you might tell me whether I'm on the right track or not, but with the advent of AI, and with AI becoming more and more prominent, I think we're getting more students that are trying to use AI for some inappropriate things, and that's kind of where it's not necessarily plagiarism as we defined plagiarism when we were younger, but the AI part is, it's a cheating mechanism, and it's a way to, you know, write me a 3-page paper on the history of the Pope, you know, and it spits it right out at you. The problem is, we have AI detectors that can detect that, and so some kids have been caught with that, and I think that's one reason for an uptick there. So, but that's kind of the big five. Again, some things in all levels, student civility 1, the electronic smoking device in 6 through 12, and again, a little bit of the fighting in pre-K through 5 up through 9th grade. Not as prevalent at the high school. High school, I will say, one thing that I noticed looking at the data, high school's instances of fighting went down, and again, kudos to the teachers for kind of raising their expectations. I know high school also has done a few things in the building. I know one thing, kind of shut down the bathrooms, which kept some of the fight night things from happening, and I think that's helped a little bit. So, but I think that's it. Was there another? I think that's the last slide, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think that's all I have.
Any questions?
I had a couple. So us changing the code of conduct, I know you threw a bunch of statistics up there, but I don't, is it working or not working?
Yeah, I think it's working. I think and they can answer better than I can. I'm just the one that has to deal with sometimes the repercussions of it. But I think the chronic discipline, it's something that we're getting used to, and sometimes they'll sneak up on you. Sometimes we'll see a kid with 6, 7 referrals, and we're like, oh, geez, we got to have a chronic meeting on this kid. And we've seen some of that we're going to get better at that. We're going to catch that more. But I think that has helped because it has also shown, and it's gotten some parents involved in the situation and in the system. So, your child is a chronic disciplinary, and y'all tell them better than I can, I know, but when you have a child that's just acting up several times, and you bring that parent in, and now the parent, the child's telling the parent one thing, but once you have that meeting with all those teachers around and an admin, and the parent's finding out some different things about their child and what they thought they knew, sometimes that parent gets a little bit more involved, and they can help head it off as well. In those cases where that's not happening, and it just the kid continues to act up, then we ramp it up to, we've had some tribunals on things like that.
So one of the things that I think we acknowledge is code of conduct is an ever-evolving document.
Yep.
Something new will pop up that it didn't even occur to us would be something we might need to address. And so the conversation around code of conduct started back in January. Teams have been involved in suggesting revisions to that. But in terms of being a little bit more stringent, we actually, we had a tribunal this year with an elementary student, the severity of the behavior. Now, there isn't an alternative of school assignment, but there was definitely a conversation about what has got to change because this is a student who's disrupting learning for all, themselves and everybody else in the room. And so I think, hats off to the administrative team, but also to the teachers with a little bit of a stricter code of conduct, and then trying to find what we know is the code of conduct doesn't necessarily change the behavior, but getting parents to understand the severity of things like chronic discipline, that child that is just constantly disrupting the instructional environment, then we've really set the bar that this is not acceptable, and so there are severe consequences to that. It's not been easy, and I think parents really, they see it in that isolated, well, he just did this thing, but he does that thing every day and nobody else can
20th time he's
learn.
done that this week.
Right. So that has been a challenge, but I think I think we're releasing red lines tonight and we'll put out, we'll put a 30-day review out for the current code of conduct that we're proposing, not major changes like last year. I do think separating, and I've heard good feedback on separating out that pre-K 5 from 6-12. I do think that has made a difference, and so we're gonna have to fine tune that a little bit, but that has been a big and better change.
And then you brought it up, so I'm gonna ask about it, AI.
Mm-hmm.
Does Lee County, first of all, have a policy about using AI?
Not yet.
Second of all, how do you detect it? If somebody types, cause I use it like every day, I think it's like the best thing.
Oh yeah, it can be.
And it's unbelievable. And I can get as detailed as I want with it,
Yep.
or you can, write me a 3-page paper on Huckleberry Finn, or you can tell all kinds of details and tell it to add that. And so you gotta be, because I feel like at some point, you're gonna have to learn to embrace it. It's not going away, and it's
You
gonna be
do, but-
artistry, authors,
Yeah.
authors, so I'm trying to figure out is how do you detect it, and then, because if the kid just writes in that paper and just copies it and types it, or how you know it's AI?
So let me take them one at a time.
Yeah.
So AI policy, that will be for us to do this summer. That's definitely on our agenda for, as a board, that will set that policy. And then I think, Mr. Dowling, if you wanna kind of talk about the detection and how they detect AI.
Yeah, there a lot of the same systems that we used to use for plagiarism now have an AI detector as well. And what it will do is it'll look at the body of the paper, and if you tell an AI system to write something for you, the more it writes, the more there's a certain method that AI uses that humans don't put. Now, I'm not an English teacher, I can't get into all the semantics of it, but an AI will use a different style of writing, just little differences in what a human does. So an AI detector can see those things and can find those things. Now, on the other side of that, the AI say, well, we have an AI detector breaker, and so it's kind of it's an arms race.
Well, that's exactly what it's gonna be.
Yeah, and but where we are with the inappropriate use of it. I mean, using AI to learn something, yeah, do it. I mean, that's great. You want to. It's the newest Google. We used to Google things. We used to use encyclopedias. Then we used Googles. Now we're using AI to find things. But the line in the sand, so to speak, comes when we give an assignment for a student to study and to review something, and instead of doing that, that student just tells AI, write me a 3-page paper on this. Well, now that student hadn't learned anything.
I get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
if I plagiarize something, you're gonna come back to me with a source, documented, I copied it.
Yeah.
You got some detector that thinks I use AI? Come on, man. I mean, you talking about failing me out of school, and we're gonna have to have something a little different than that.
I don't think we're talking about failing them out of school, but,
No.
and I will be honest, is.
Well, failing a class, because
Okay,
in
and I
college,
think-
you're kicked out if you plagiarize.
I think I mean, if the child can't, so it's not as hard as a detector when you sit and you say, so tell me a little bit about what's the subject of your paper? And you can't tell me anything.
Right.
But
And we have a pretty good indication that you didn't create the
I
work.
get what you're saying, but
Yeah.
I'm just, we're gonna spend an hour of time first in the software to try and to detect it. Then because we think he might be using it, we're gonna sit him down and ask him the subject. I mean, if we did that with 10, 20 kids, I mean, how much time are we spending on whether the kid learned? We spend as much time learning if he cheated as if he did if we taught him.
Yeah, but I think that's a place we've got to try to hold kids accountable. I mean, I don't know if y'all remember.
I agree. I just feel it's like
Yeah.
a hard.
I don't know if y'all
fight. It's ahead
remember,
of-
but when I was in high school, I had in my English class, my senior year especially, the teacher had us do timed writing. And that was where you had to come in with a pen and a piece of paper, and the teacher gave you a topic, and you sat, and I mean, you get hand cramps, you'd write 2-3 pages in 45 minutes about a topic. And I mean, that's getting to be about the only way that we can't completely, prove or wonder as a kid used AI for something. Now again, there are tremendous uses for AI. We just have to be careful and keep kids understanding that you have to use it appropriately rather than inappropriate, because the whole thing's about learning.
Mhm.
And if you're going, we want our kids to learn about, the reason that we're asking you to write this 3 paragraphs or 3 pages or whatever on this topic is so that you learn something about that topic and maybe about the mistakes that this historical figure or whatever made that caused this conflict or that caused this to happen, so that we don't repeat those things. And if they just tell AI to do it, then they're not really learning that. So we got to try to hold kids accountable one way or another with that. So.
It's definitely something we are going to, once I get the board to kind of craft your beliefs around it, then
Yep.
the district team will take that back with input from the schools, and we'll craft procedure around that. So this is something that we're all kind of juggling with that policy, but we have to have that philosophical approach first, and then craft, which will feed right into that.
Yeah,
What is
I
the
completely
procedure beneath
agree with
it?
you. I just feel like, the days of you teaching us how to write a paper, you can teach me all you want, but it's done. Once I leave your class, I'm gonna tell AI to write it for the rest of my life. And so I feel like we almost need to embrace that a little bit more than just making sure they dot their I's and cross their T's and put a body their subject matter.
Well,
That's just my personal belief.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you've gotta be able to teach the students, cause the students are gonna program that AI to some degree.
And AI is wrong a lot. It
It
is
is.
wrong.
You know where I learned that from? I learned that from my son. Cause I'm sitting, you know, my son who's got somewhat of a brain. I'm like, well, I'll just ask AI for that. He goes, AI is wrong half the time on that.
It is
I'm like,
wrong.
what are you talking about? So I said, well, what about this? He goes, no, see, this, it was a math thing. This, yeah, this is wrong.
Yeah.
So I asked AI, were you wrong with that? Well, it appears I am. I'm like, sure, you know, my kids.
It's amazing technology.
Colleges are running into this too.
Yeah.
For the girls,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
my girls were talking to me in their classes, the professors are having to learn how to deal with it.
Yeah.
In one of their classes, the professor, it was a poetry class when one of my girls was taking, they started with AI. They told AI, okay, craft this particular type of poem. Then the student had to take it and craft their own, but if they were trying to embrace it kind of as a starting
I
point.
like that, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like that.
they're struggling, they're in the same
Oh,
boat.
yeah. We all,
Thanks,
One
Doc.
of the aspects of discipline,
Hmm.
we made the change last year, to 2 codes, so that we could kind of scale back the younger children. And, before, I felt like we had a lot of inconsistencies, Twin Oaks would do something and the elementary school would do something else.
Mhm.
And the parents talked, there you went. So, and I feel like what we've done is bus discipline is still being handled in the bus shop? Are they?
No, no, bus
it's-
discipline is
it's-
handled at the school.
Okay, it's gone back to the school.
It
but
is.
At one time, wasn't somebody?
when Trey Haynes was doing that, that was one of the things that we tasked him with, to try to,
Right.
and because he was already had a history of being a disciplinarian anyway. So we kind of tasked him with that, but we've kind of swung it back the other way now. And, I think that's another thing that I think we've all got to do, is to try to level set with each other. We probably need to sit down and just, kind of sister schools kind of talk about, well, what happens if you get this, what are you calling that? So that we kind of continue to try to have a level set between us. This is something we got to continue to do as educators.
Donna, what's
Exactly, but I think that it's so critical to do that, because we don't want to pick, or you just go to Twin Oaks, cause they'll just let you
Right.
buy, you just go in and he'll say, don't do it again, and you're gone. It really is, and I know you'll have probably an opportunity this summer to be able to talk to the principals
Mhm.
and to see how we can make that happen, so that as much as possible, yes, we consider a human factor when we're dealing with discipline, but above all, get it as consistent as we can.
Yeah, no, agree.
What has helped is, which has been, in addition to that code of conduct that didn't exist before, was we actually used some of the bus as a mirror. So the max and minimum punishments in each of those categories for the different offenses has helped for consistency, so we don't have 2 days of OSS over here and ISS here. Like, that has actually helped for consistency. And I think the feedback that I've gotten from some of my family advisories is that is appreciated. They now, whether they don't always code it right, but in their minds, they can go to that code of conduct, they can say, oh, my child did this, and they have a pretty good idea of what the principal's gonna let them know when they look at that disciplinary referral.
That's good. That's good, thank you.
Okay.
We'll move ahead to our business items. And the first of 4 business items, Are we gonna cover the policy? I don't see it listed on the agenda. Did you pull that? Okay, thank you. There are 3 business items. In the first of these business items, the board is asked to approve the personnel consent agenda. Dr. Truitt, would you like to comment regarding the current personnel consent agenda?
Absolutely, Madam Chair and members of the board, I recommend that the personnel agenda is approved as presented.
May I have a motion to approve the current personnel consent agenda as presented? Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Being none, I have a motion and a second to approve the current personnel consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. In the second business item, the board is asked to approve the consent agenda. Dr. Truitt, would you like to highlight this evening's consent agenda?
Absolutely. Madam Chair, members of the board, you have been presented with a consent agenda containing fundraisers, out-of-state or overnight trips, facility use, and website flyers, renewal of our MSA athletic training contract services. Just as a side note, that is at the same price point as it was negotiated for last year for 2 trainers. Participate in state and federal funding to include QBE formula earnings, categorical grants, consolidated application for funding, and any other state and federal resources as they become available. We just have to have a vote that we are accepting grants. Georgia School Board self-assessment and exemplary committee self-assessment was included, as well as a salary correction and update to include our pre-K paraprofessionals in the district compensation increase, and TLC director now to include summer school to a 12-month contract. We also have as I mentioned earlier, the bus purchase of 2 new buses to continue to monitor our fleet for replacement needs. Madam Chair and members of the board, I recommend that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the current consent agenda as presented? Okay. May I have a second? Second. Thank you. Are there any further questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Kelly, when, or how long is it gonna take to get the buses? I know we're way behind.
We're way behind, but these are I'm told, Letitia,
They're on the line.
they're on the lot.
Awesome. Okay, good.
Anything else? Okay. I have a motion and a second to approve the current consent agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. In the third business item, at this time, I will ask Dr. Truitt and Mr. Gary Kelly to present and discuss the for year-end 2026 tentative budget and remaining budget hearing dates. As a reminder, no action is required to be taken by the board at this first presentation.
Okay, at this time, I would like to invite Mr. Gary Kelly, Executive Director of Finance and Operations, to join us to present our preliminary FY26 budget and proposed budget hearing dates. Mr. Kelly.
Consistency. That's what y'all were talking about. So here goes consistency. Have you got it, Jan?
I just don't like how that looks.
It's not really different. I mean, she can get to it. The first is the timeline, which is no different. But just to where we are, we're in May, and that this month we're presenting the tentative budget. So all the rubber is hitting the road now. We have a document. So we're going to go through a little bit of the highlights. The priorities, we started these in October to maintain the class size, to maintain evidence-based learning materials, the state mandatory non-health insurance. That was hit this year a little stronger. They came in and gave us a double bump on that. Market comparability, recruitment and retention. Our budget is addressing that, and still we're addressing the safety with the strategics that we went to the last meeting. Board of investment in our employees. The state gave no raise this year, but locally we've got a 3% increase of cost on the non-certified positions and a 2% local supplement increase for all certified positions. The next is our budget overview. Our budget for this year is $109,455,000, and that's about $2 or $3 million more than it was last year. And at the budget hearings, we will go over what makes up that difference. So tonight, we do not have to take any action on this budget other than I have to put a a piece of paper, a thing in the paper that says when the hearings will be. And Daryl, that will come out not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday. So our hearing dates will need to be after next Wednesday, and I proposed May 29th and June the 9th based on the meetings that we used last year. We really need one of those at 6 o'clock, and then the other one is before the board meeting, the next meeting in June. So that's just something I picked. So if y'all got better dates or those don't work, we can work around that. We'll have those hearings, and then in June meeting, we'll adopt the final budget, and then we will submit that budget to the Department of Education in July. That is the extent of where we are.
I think right now, our focus is really to look at those dates and see if those hearing dates, if we can make those work.
I can tell you, not for me,
Okay.
the May 29th.
I mean, it just needs to be after, what's the date next Wednesday?
21st.
It needs to be after the 21st, so that when it's advertised, it's after that date. So anytime between the 21st and
Is that-
June the 9th.
Isn't that right after Memorial Day? Yeah, I'm not-
25th is Memorial Day, no, 26th. 22nd is graduation, so that's it.
So,
I could do the Tuesday before, the 29th.
27th.
Yeah.
does that work? 27th work?
Well, no, but they can call me. I don't, if y'all are good with the 29th.
No. No. So we've got a conflict with the 27th.
27th, what day is that?
Tuesday. Wednesday's the 28th. Thursday's the 29th. Friday's the 30th. Somebody check me on that.
Yeah, that's right.
I can kill him, I told you, he just have to stay at home by 7.
Okay, we could also do, you've got that next week.
Yeah.
Somebody give me the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that. What are the dates?
2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th.
6. What is?
We're not going.
What about Tuesday the 3rd? Coming the next month. June.
Same time.
Let's see. So we're looking at potentially June 3rd at 6 p.m. if that works. Trey, does that work for you?
Yeah, well, I'll make it work.
Okay. So on a Tuesday.
Carol, I'll send you an advertisement.
So we're doing May 27th and June 3rd?
That raise we
No,
got,
June
ain't in question
3rd
now.
and June,
It really wasn't a raise, people.
so I've got it. Is there a time requirement?
No, yeah, we really would need to do one at 6.
No, I mean, there's not the
It-
days
It could be
between.
less.
No.
Okay, so what I'm proposing right now for agreement, and this is what we'll vote on, is June 3rd at 6 p.m. And then the second meeting will be June 9th at 5 p.m. If that works for everybody.
Will we have the threshold?
There's some fruit left in there. Maybe we could.
All the mints you can eat.
So at this point, we're set with June 3rd and June 9th.
Yes.
May I have, do you have any further comments, Dr. Sherman?
No, thank you.
May I have a motion to approve Monday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. and, all right, make sure I have this down.
Tuesday,
Tuesday,
June
June 3rd at 6 p.m. and Monday, June 9th at 5 p.m. to hold the remaining 2 budget hearings.
I make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any questions or comments? Okay. I have a motion and a second to hold the remaining budget hearings on Tuesday, June 3rd at 6 p.m. and Monday, June 9th at 5 p.m. as discussed. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And at this time, the board needs to once again adjourn into an executive session for personnel matters. May I have a motion to discuss or deliberate upon the appointment, employment, compensation, hiring, disciplinary action or dismissal or periodic evaluation or rating of a public officer or employee, or to interview the applicants for position of superintendent? Is there a second? Thank you. Any further questions or comments? It's motioned and seconded to adjourn into executive session. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0, and we will reconvene after the.
Y'all stay tight, now we'll be back in a minute. If I gotta stay, I gotta